I am going to address the mix of anxiety, despondency, anger, some hope that the Jewish community are feeling right now in the wake of yet another assault on what should be Jewish sanctuary that occurred last Shabbat. I do want to acknowledge the presence of Jonathan Greenblatt this morning and the role that he and the ADL played. Yisher Koach, thank you. Not easy to say the least, to be so involved in so many of the aspects of trying to keep us safe and trying to keep all humanity safe in the face of hatred that is wide and deep. Yisher Koach. And we always want this to be your sanctuary, Jonathan. Before I talk about the present, I want to take us back. I want to take us back to our foundation, because we as a people, we don't just face the present in a vacuum. We face the present with a recognition that we have a past that is wide and deep and that can speak to us. So we read this morning about the moments of revelation when God was revealed to the children of Israel. And there are moments that are described regarding what the Israelites saw and what they heard. There is a great deal that they saw. God says to them, Atem re'item asher asiti lemitzrayim, you saw what I did to the Egyptians. And then God declares, Im shamoa tishma, if you listen to me, you will be mamlechet kohanim v'goy kadosh, a kingdom of priests, a holy people. And following the moments of revelation, the Israelites say to Moses, Taber ata imanu v'nishma'a, you speak to us and we listen. If God speaks, it's too overwhelming. And then toward the end, God says to Moses, tell the people, Atem re'item hayom, hashamayim dibarti imachem, you saw how I today spoke to you. So in the narrative of the Torah, we experience the world through seeing and through hearing. Re'iyah, seeing, it's how Abraham experiences God during the Akedah. But we also know that there are moments when the Torah suggests that hearing can be deeper than seeing, that there are times when what we are seeing can be elusive, and that we need to be able to listen carefully. The Torah does not get to the space of Re'u Yisrael, see, O Israel, but Shema Yisrael, hear, O Israel. Isaac, who cannot see towards the end of his life, is not quite sure who is in front of him. It feels like Esau, but Akol Kol Yaakov. The voice is the voice of Jacob. His hearing is what leads him closer to appreciating the reality of that moment. So I want to suggest to us this morning, a week after sanctuary once again was violated, a week when we are reeling once again and wondering, will Jews ever feel safe in this space where we gather, this Beit Knesset? I want us to rely on our Shmi'ah, to be listening carefully. It is a time when we as a people need to be listening carefully. So yes, synagogues are reviewing their protocols for security. And rabbis are being asked, in order to try to somehow sidestep the tension of the moment, in addition to speaking and comforting and marrying, are you also practicing how to throw chairs, Rabbi? As some people have said to me in the past days. With all of that swimming around, we need to figure out how to listen. And so first, we need to learn how to listen to the words, the tropes, the ideations that are clearly anti-Semitic, regardless of who is speaking them. The man who held 4 people hostage, Malik Faisal Akram, spoke of Jews having superhuman power, believed that Jews really do control things, that coming into a synagogue and insisting that the rabbi called the rabbi who he thought was the chief rabbi of the United States, Rabbi Angela Buchtal, because she's the rabbi of Central Synagogue, that this person was trafficking in anti-Semitic tropes. Plain and simple. The man is a British citizen. He is a Muslim. Some people, based on perhaps their own ideological leanings, are hesitant to identify anti-Semitism among Muslims and people of color. Other people, perhaps based on their ideological leanings, are hesitant to identify anti-Semitism among people who are white, people who might be Christian. It should no longer be a news flash to us that anti-Semitism comes from people of a wide range of religious and cultural and ideological backgrounds. I want to quote to you something that Yair Rosenberg, journalist, recently wrote about anti-Semitism. We need to listen to this and absorb it. Unlike many other bigotries, anti-Semitism is not merely a social prejudice. It is a conspiracy theory about how the world operates. This adult outlook is what united the Texas gunman, a Muslim, with the 2018 shooter at Pittsburgh's Tree of Life synagogue, a white supremacist who sought to stanch the flow of Muslims into America. It is a worldview shared by Louis Farrakhan, the black hate preacher, and David Duke, the former KKK Grand Wizard, and it is a political orientation that has been expressed by the self-styled Christian conservative leader of Hungary, Viktor Orban, and Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran's Islamic theology. When initially some government agencies and some newspapers said that this hostage taking was not motivated by anti-Semitism, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry or scream. A man walks into a synagogue holding a gun, holding a rabbi and 3 others hostages because he believes that Jews are enough in control that they can effectuate the outcome that he wants. What else are we going to call this? If not anti-Semitism, if not an act that stems from Jew hatred, plain and simple. And so our shmi'ah, our ability to hear, needs to be open and precise and thorough. Secondly, we need to learn how to listen for expressions of support from allies and would-be allies. It is tempting to ignore them. It is tempting to poo-poo them. Imam Abdullah Antepli, chaplain and professor at Duke University, he spoke here with Yossi Klein Halevi a few years ago. Together, they run the Muslim Leadership Initiative at the Hartman Institute in Jerusalem. The point is to bring Muslims to Israel to learn about Judaism and Zionism. He has been speaking out against the dangers of anti-Semitism that exists within the Muslim community. And specifically in the wake of last week's events, he has issued a public call to fellow Muslims to engage in what we would call cheshbon hanefesh, introspection. That's very important. This is somebody who has reached out. We should listen and we should be prepared to engage. While many of my rabbinic colleagues felt this past week that they did not hear sufficiently from Christian and Muslim and other colleagues, we also know that Rabbi Sirton Walker's Christian and Muslim colleagues were there for him. So while we need to listen for the danger, we also need to listen for genuine gestures of human concern that are being offered, and we need to find ways to respond. Third, we need to listen to our own inner voices during this. Now, I had a number of colleagues who posted, "Come to synagogue and show that we're not afraid." I understand that impulse. But I want to say to us, maybe we're not afraid, or maybe we are afraid and we're coming anyway, or maybe we need some time to just reflect and gather ourselves. Listening to ourselves through this is important. We have an inner voice, all of us. We have inner voices that are reeling from this. It's a lot to take. It's a lot to take for rabbis. It's a lot to take for clergy. It's a lot to take for leaders. It's a lot to take for all of us. So listen to what your own kishkas, your own neshama, your own soul is telling you right now, to the various messages that you're receiving, and know that we here, your clergy, your leadership, we will listen to you if you want to process out loud and share. We are here for you. We need to listen to what our own inner voices are telling us. And finally, for now, we need to listen to our vast and wise tradition. We have millennia of laws and stories and customs that guide us. They guide us about how to navigate these kinds of difficult situations. But honestly, our tradition is not primarily about how to respond to people who hate us. Our tradition is primarily about how to be Am Kadosh, a holy people that bring blessing and love to the world. We can never forget that. We need to listen to God calling out to us and saying, you can be Mamlechet Kohanim v'Goy Kadosh. You can achieve that holiness. That is what our people will continue to bring to the world. On this day, current events may have us feeling fearful or angry or sad or all of the above. But on this day, the Torah carries us back to Sinai, to the foot of that mountain, the foot of the mountain where we heard God saying to us, this is what you can be. This is what I am challenging you to be. And so I want to urge us, seeing is also important, but I want us to focus on what it is that we should hear. I urge us to listen clearly to the dangers that face us regardless of who is speaking. I urge us to listen to those allies and would-be allies that want to reach out. I urge us to listen to our internal voices that push us and pull us. We can't ignore them. And I want us to listen to the eternal call to our people to be now as much as ever a wise and decent and strong and holy people. Am Kadosh. Amen.